my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here then welcome to my channel, and today's video is going to be my April 2024 reading wrap-up. I am still in a reading slump, so this wrap-up is going to be pretty manga heavy since that seems to be less impacted by it than anything else. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. First up is going to be Volume 1 of Mission Yozakura Family, and this follows our main character who has been on his own ever since his parents died, with the exception of his childhood friend. However, he soon finds out that this childhood friend is secretly the head of a family of powerful spies, including her creepy brother who wants to kill anyone who goes near her. And when he sets his sights on our main character, the only way for him to survive is to marry into the family. Okay, so I read this first volume a little bit before their anime premiered because I just wanted to see what they had going on. And going into it, I was very concerned about the brother specifically, and yeah, he is in fact creepy. And they kind of play it like everybody knows he's creepy and knows he's a problem, which does make it slightly more readable for me. And I do think it is what is ultimately making it watchable too. And as for the rest of this, it was fine. I do kind of like some of the other side characters. And when I like their comedy, I like their comedy, but when I don't like their comedy, I really don't like their comedy. And I wasn't in love with this first volume just as a whole, but it did have some fun moments. The series is kind of at like a 3-star for me right now. I might read more, but I also might not. I do think it's just going to depend on how the rest of the anime goes for me, and then we'll go from there. I will say, did not love episode 4. And next up are volumes 3 through 7 of Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead by Haro also. And Zom 100 follows our main character Akira, who has landed his dream job and everything seems to be going really well for him. That is until he discovers the exploitative nature of his workplace, and after 3 years go by, he is unable to recognize himself and has lost all passion for life. However, that all changes when the zombie apocalypse begins, and he realizes that that means that he doesn't have to go back to work anymore. So he sets out to complete his new bucket list of the 100 things that he wants to do before becoming a zombie. So this was one of my favorite series that I watched last year. I think they're very stupid, but I think it's stupid in a fun way, and I also think that they have a lot of heart, and I think they find a nice balance between the two of those things. That being said, I did not love volumes 4, 5, and 6. Some of the aspects of the storylines, and especially the villains, felt kind of forced, and some of the comedy just didn't really work for me. Which are all things that when I watched the anime were pretty much just overshadowed by the relief that I felt that they were back from hiatus. But that feeling has since worn off, and the things that got overshadowed just aren't overshadowed anymore. That being said, I still really like this series, and there were even moments in those volumes that I really loved. Volume 7 was my first volume of content that the anime did not get to, and that was super fun. It was weird and absurd. Still not perfect, but it's still one of my favorite series, and I'm so excited to keep going. Next up are volumes 5 through 8 of Whisper Me a Love Song by Takeshima, and this follows our main character Himari, who falls in love with her upperclassman Yori after hearing her band perform on the first day of school. She confesses, and Yori confesses her love back, and then Himari realizes that they are feeling two different kinds of love and begins to wonder what love really means. And I am officially caught up to this very lovely and amazing series, and I do have a full review up on my channel if you want to hear exactly why I think this series is so lovely and amazing. But yeah, these were good volumes, and I think I said this in my March wrap-up too last month, but I just fall more in love with this series and these characters with every volume. And all of these volumes had a mix of cute and fun moments and also emotional and dramatic moments, which are all things that I think this series does really well, and I am very invested in the current storyline. And their anime is also airing right now over on High Dive, and it is also a cute and fun time. And overall, this series has just been a huge favorite of mine. They've gone from a 4.25 to a 4.75, and I definitely think they have the potential for that 5-star by the time their series ends, or even just by the next volume. Next up is Outdrawn by Deanna Gray. Outdrawn follows one of our main characters, Noah, who after her webcomic makes it to the top 10 on Inkmix, she receives an offer for a full-time position at a comic company who is relaunching its called Classic Comic. Everything is falling into place until she realizes that that means that she has to work with her college rival. And that brings us to our other main character, Sage, who, despite having a ton of raw talent and success, is trying to fix her plateaued career by working on the same mainstream comic. And Noah and Sage have to learn to work together as a team, which is already hard enough, but gets even more difficult when they start to fall in love. This was a book that I was very excited for going into it, like maybe the most excited that I've been for a book in a really long time. And And I am very happy and relieved that I can stand here today and tell you that it did, in fact, live up to the hype that my brain made up for it. I really enjoyed both of our main characters here. This is one of those romance books that gives you all the cute and cheesy fun things that come with a romance book, but also combines it with really real, inspiring, and relatable character deep dives and growth. And then also just the rivals to lovers banter range from very fun to extremely adorable. I of course love the focus on comics and art as well. I actually do think that this book maybe could have focused a little bit more on the comic parts, but I do think that it did enough. And then there were also found family dynamics, so yeah, this book stole my heart immediately, and I ended up giving Outdrawn by Deanna Gray 5 out of 5 stars. And next up is the Hirano and Kagiura light novel, novelization by Kotoko, Hachijo, an original story and art by Shou, Harusono. And this is a spin-off light novel of the Boys Love series, Sasaki and Miyano, and this one of course focuses on Hirano and Kagiura. And Kagiura is starting his first year of high school and is living in the dorms with his new roommate and upperclassman, Hirano. He's originally concerned that Hirano may be a delinquent just based on his appearance, but soon finds out that he's actually really nice. And this follows their daily lives living in the dorms as they begin to fall in love. So I really like the Sasaki and Miyano anime, but I was never really drawn to their manga until I watched the Graduation movie, of which these two had a very adorable 30 minutes of. And I'm honestly kind of concerned that I may never see anything from this series animated again, or at least anytime soon. So I hauled the content that I still need to consume, and ultimately put them in my 2024 manga TBR, and in order to read the manga series surrounding these two, this light novel comes first. And this was very slice of life. Like, very. Like, they either spent a majority of it studying or sleeping or talking about studying or sleeping, which in theory, and also in the movie, was really cute. Like Hirano helping Kagiura study or waking him up in the morning. That's all really cute. But something about reading it just made me also very sleepy, which did unfortunately make this hard to read at times, and I do think that I would have enjoyed this story more if it was in manga format. But this light novel did also have its moments, and I do like that we are getting to see more of Hirano specifically, and I do think that we're getting to see a different side of him that we haven't seen before that Kagiura is bringing out in him. And I really loved reading them having fun and being happy together. And I ended up giving this light novel 3 out of 5 stars, which is going to bring us to volume 1 of the Hirano and Kagiura manga series, because I just really needed to know if this story was going to work better for me in manga form like I thought it would, and I was right. It does. This volume picks up where the light novel leaves off, and I did actually get myself confused about the timeline of when this story takes place, but then they gave me like an actual timeline in the back of this volume, so that is cleared up for me for now. But yeah, there's still a lot of sleeping, there's still a lot of studying, but this time it's in manga form, so it's back to being cute and peaceful, but also not too peaceful, which is the balance we need to keep going. I also think that they might be about to dive into Kagiura's character a little bit more, and just their relationship dynamic as a whole, which should be really interesting, and I'm excited to keep going. Next up is They Called Me a Lioness by Dena Takruri and Ahed Tamimi, and this is a memoir that follows the daily life and struggles of a Palestinian activist who was jailed at 16 years old. I listened to this one on audio, and it's one of those memoirs that makes me want to listen to more memoirs, because all of the incredible things that I heard about this book going into it were correct. And I just have so much respect for Ahed Tamimi and her family, and I'm so grateful that I got to learn about this person and her story in any format. But the audiobook itself was just done so well, and I was hooked onto every word. And I don't tend to give ratings to nonfiction books, especially memoirs, but if I did, this one would be a 5-star. And then I also did give it 5 stars on Storygraph because it deserves it, so I guess this one could just be the exception. Okay, so we have now reached the point in this video where I should start naming and listing all of the manga chapters that I read from the series that I'm caught up to. However, this month one of my series has unfortunately met its untimely yet seemingly inevitable end, and has in fact been cancelled by Shonen Jump, which means that next up is Shadow Eliminators by Kento Amemiya. And Shadow Eliminators follows a high school student who has a very strong sense of justice that gets turned upside down and tested when he gets exposed to otherworldly beings. I read chapters 17 through 19 this month, and yeah, chapter 19, that's it. That's the final one. And it does feel like only yesterday that I was in my March wrap-up talking about how I just had my first spark of genuine hope for this series, because they were doing some cool things with their story, and they did have some fun characters and moments along the way. And I do feel bad that it feels like the series just got to a this first major storyline and just had to rush to the end of it. Because I do think this arc was interesting and had a lot of potential, but I also do think this cancellation might explain why it felt like everything was getting thrown at me at once last month when the arc first started. And it did feel really messy back then, and the final chapters this month unfortunately do feel very rushed. Although I do think that this series did the best that it could with the time that it had left. I don't know, I'm not surprised it's gone, but part of me is disappointed because there was something there for me, but also just maybe not enough at the same time. Due to the nature of how things ultimately went here, my final rating for this series is going to sound much harsher than it really is, but I am going to be giving Shadow Eliminators 2 out of 5 stars. And now it's time for the other series that I read chapters from this month, who all hopefully have much brighter futures ahead of them. And those include chapters 105 and 106 of Kaiju number 8, chapters 144 to 147 of Blue Box, chapters 105 to 108 of Akane-banashi, chapters 28 to 31 of Kagiura, chapters 7 and 8 of Kaiju number 8 B-side, and chapter 53 of You and I Are Polar Opposites. And as for my favorite of those series that I just listed this month, honestly, this one is a little bit of a toss-up. So I'm gonna give an honorable mention to Blue Box and to You and I Are Polar Opposites, but I do think that I am going to be giving my favorite to Kaiju number 8 B-side, because they were really fun and action-packed and also gave me a little bit more insight into a storyline that I felt like the main series skipped over some, which I also have zero complaints for the main series right now, so there's that too. Okay, so that is all that I have for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that, and hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!